we're doing box drill, like where one was the running back, one was the offense, and it would be running around. And now they're wearing flags. It's not tackle.
No, it's not tackle.
And then they come out and you have the defensive guy kind of try to break down.
Yeah.
And then go for the flag, and you want to cut them off, set up the pie. Seeing these kids, like you tell them 1, 2, 3, 4th time, they're breaking it down. They're doing it, and they're like,
they picked up on it real quick.
And they're going to be like, holy good,
I can do this. I want to go ahead and get started. I want you to go ahead and kind of just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about Mikey's League, because, my first introduction to it was about a month now since I came out and did your camp. And it was just an amazing, I'll let you talk about it, but I just had an amazing time and just, it really opened my eyes to things that I didn't think these kids could do.
Yeah. So my name is Karl Bender. A little bit about my background. I played football, since I was a young kid all the way up. With Mikey's League, I am the president of Mikey's League, of co-founder. And we're a unified sports league. I mean, we do every sport that you can.
Well, explain to them what that is, because a lot of people don't understand that unified is like for kids with disabilities. And
yeah, so we don't look at it that way. I mean, unified or inclusive, we look at it as you can have a physical, cognitive, or no disability and still play with us.
Okay.
What we do is we change the rules a little bit, still keep it competitive.
Right.
One of our extremes is like we do flag football. Is everybody's like, we have one kid, his name's Jake. He has extreme cerebral palsy. He's like muscle spasms. He can't catch, very hard for him to control. We give him a partner, and the partner wears the flag. And we'll go downfield, and he'll go. The partner will catch, put it in his lap, and then the partner, we don't want him running with him. Right. Good sprint walk.
Yeah.
So it gets to that. Once the partner gets his flag pulled, we allow 5 extra steps down the field.
Okay.
And now that's the partner step. So if you got a 6'5", like
a nice stride,
they were marching down the field, and everybody's like, I never thought that would work. And it's sometimes the most simplest things change things up. Yeah. But we do that. We have high functional autism kids that are out there. We have everybody in between, physical. And it's just there to have fun. And it's giving them the opportunity doing the same drills that we did.
Right.
Like in high school and stuff. And everybody's like, well, how can you do that?
I was the same way when I first heard about it. I'm like, wow, they're going to be out. Like, I instantly went to, I guess, a part of my heart was like, oh my God, you got to protect these kids. Like, take it easy. Don't let them get hurt. So when I came out there and saw how you were like, let's go, move your asses. And it was like, okay, all right.
I guess kind of gotten in. I'll bring it back to my brother that, it's named after. I grew up East Coast, Connecticut, New York. And we had a lot next door. We used to all play neighborhood tackle, like there'd be some rocks. It don't matter. You're going to get it. But he always wanted to play. And, we're like, you're too young. You can't. And I guess what really changed it is I realized, to me, he's my brother.
Yeah.
He's not a person with a disability.
Right.
He's my brother. I'm going to beat on him. I'm going to play with him. I'm going to tease him. He's going to do the same back to me. And at that time, I realized there's nothing different.
Right.
Like, okay, physically there is, but
he's still my brother.
He's still everything. And growing up back there, everybody used to refer him, oh, that's Karl's handicapped brother. And I was like, no, that's Mikey.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I was like, we're going to get him to play with us. And they're like, how?
Yeah.
How? And I was like, okay, well, we all play tackle. He wasn't a strong walker. He used to kind of like have this little hobble that he'd do. So what we did is anytime he catched the ball or he got it, we would scare him and he would fall over. And
it's funny, but it's not funny. It sounds terrible.
But it is. It's not terrible, because what that did is it changed everybody's perception of him.
Right, yeah.
Looked at him as, holy shit, this is just another kid. This ain't no, okay, we do a little things, but he's still keeping competition up. He's still doing it. And it also allowed him to build his own confidence.
Yeah.
So by doing that, his touchdowns were his touchdowns. They weren't given.
Right.
They weren't, I'm not, nothing wrong when the schools do their thing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But these kids, like, we want to give them their true touchdowns, their own accomplishments, and not baby feed it. So like the whole thing about us is like, that's the whole demographic we want to go. So with him, it started changing the perception of the community. Everybody started to go, oh, that's just Mikey.
Yeah.
And he kind of became the neighborhood mascot. Everybody would be like, hey, Mikey.
Hey, Mikey, we know Mikey. What's up, man? How you doing?
He'd go down to the little bodega on the side and it's like, hey, Mikey.
Hey.
Always kind of, man. He always knew how to pull stuff. Like go to the candy store, he'd be walking out with candy. It's like, you had no money. He's like, they like me. I'm like,
they like me. It's just, whatever.
You're a con man. Yeah. But growing up that way, we never white gloved him, and we told him, the world's not going to be fair.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So mom and dad aren't always going to be around.
Yeah.
So you need to start, developing your own. You got to start being your own person.
Right.
And so with that, at a young age, he started realizing, being his advocate.
Yeah.
Along with that, he realized he didn't want to be treated differently.
Yeah.
So he ended up going to school. We held him to the same standards. At the age of 18, he graduated with his class out of Dobson. Went on to do computer web design. Sorry.
Okay, wow.
Web design over in at MCC for a little
I
bit.
know exactly what you're talking about.
And that was kind of it.
That's amazing.
I used to take him. We'd go, when he turned 21, we'd go to the bar, But yeah. So now bring it back about it, like, he was a blessing.
Yeah.
Like, he was born due to he had his heart was backwards. He had the cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't supposed to live past the age of 3. He didn't pass until 21. And, so I got 17 amazing years with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was kind of the whole process of just realizing how much of a blessing that he brought into our lives. But Mikey's League kind of got started through that same thought process.
Right.
I joined the military. I served our country. I love it. That's the best thing. Like,
absolutely.
I tell people all the time, it's like, I serve for everybody's beliefs, and people are like, well, don't you get mad? It's like, no, because that's what I did. I'd be a hypocrite.
That's what I fought for. Yeah.
But my little brother saved my life because during my time over there.
Where were you?
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I was in Iraq.
Okay.
In 08, 09.
Okay.
We were in Baghdad, located in Baghdad, outside the green zone. Like, we lived out there amongst like the AIs, which is the Iraqi army and the Iraqi police. Like, we all lived in this one little mansion kind of thing. But for me, I was doing the soldier thing, and my brother started having issues with his heart. And, as a big brother, I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
So it kind of always a little bit bothered me. He was on a donor list, just didn't come in time. Right. And he ended up passing while I was deployed. And I was like, dumbfounded. My unit sent me home to be with him, go to his funeral. And it's just one of those things, like, crazy. And what's the craziest thing about is his funeral, that day, my unit got hit with a big IED.
Yeah.
And this is where he saved my life is.
It's okay, man. Take your time. Yeah, it's all good. It's okay.
Wait, this is where he saved my life is because if I was there, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
My mom would have been burying 2 sons in less than a month. So I always felt very very blessed. Having my brother save my life.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do something.
Right. To honor his memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when I got out, I had my struggles. I was struggling a lot, but I got into working with one of my friends. He started, he did a wrestling league out in Colorado Springs. And it was one of the things that kind of rebuilt me back into getting into sports. Later on, I ended up making the move out here and reached out to the other co-founder, Scott. We've been high school buddies. At the time, he was working at behavioral health. He was a director for a behavioral health center. And I told him my story. He was like, yeah, no, that's good. I'll give you $20. You know, hey, when you need to donate, I'll give you $20. And I shared like how I wanted Mikey's League to be. I wanted Mikey's League to be as true as possible for these athletes, where anybody can come through. Anybody with a physical, anybody with a cognitive disability, anybody with no disability could come and still play. And so I shared the whole idea with him, and that's where he was like, I'll give you $20 when that time comes. Later that week, he ended up having one of his coworkers like reach out to him. And it's like, hey, I got this kid. He's behavioral health. He's causing so much issues. And he's like, put him in sports. Put him in sports. That's gonna fix him. It's like how it fixed me and how it fixed you.
Absolutely,
we were knuckleheads before.
Absolutely.
and he's like, sports is gonna put him in accountability. He'll have a male role model. He's gonna build friendships and bonds and connections. And she goes, well, he's not quite there at the typical level.
Right.
And he feels like he's above the special needs athletics. So he was like that in between. And so he's like, well,
what do I do?
There's something that's got to be.
There's got to be something out there for him.
So Scott did all this research, spent like 3-4 hours, could not find anything that was going off of what I said. That night he calls me up. He's like, dude, you have something. We need to do this. We need to get together and partner. And so we started in July 28th of 1919, or 2019. Sorry.
I was like 19. I was like,
1990.
That's a long time ago.
2019. And kind of just gone with it. So.
No, it was just amazing because I remember when Adam Richmond with the Cardinals had called me about that, and he was just reaching out to me about getting some guys out there. I was like, absolutely, man, because like I was telling you before we even started, my aunt had a disability, and Special Olympics, like I just remember how she would light up when that time came around, because like you said, it wasn't anything giving to her. It was all these kids with different disabilities, whatever it was, and they were competing. Obviously things were scaled down a little bit to make it a little easier or making them a little more functional, but she just loved the thrill of being out there. And I just remember a couple times that I would see her, there's just a huge smile on her face and holding up those trophies, and it just meant so much to her. And so I was just like, absolutely, man, like count me in, Adam. Like I want to do that because with my kids, and I was telling you about it earlier, I know especially around here at Hamilton, Chandler, they have the Unified League, and my son participated in that. And he was saying like that was one of the best emotional experiences he's ever had. Like just being out there, seeing how happy these kids are, and just they're, like you were saying, you're on the field or on the basketball court with one of these Hamilton superstars, a defensive lineman. And these kids love that. And these are the memories that they take with them and cherish forever. So I just was, when he called me, I was like, absolutely, man, count me in. I'm there.
Yeah. I mean, even taking in like your son's experience or anybody else that maybe not had a family member or a friend with a disability, they get scared,
Yeah.
Like to me, what was the greatest thing is when we made my brother like the neighborhood mascot. Everybody just that took that ceiling off, that glass ceiling that they put on. Not the society puts on these athletes. And I always say it like this: is like when we take that glass ceiling off, allow them to be their own tree, allow them to grow as much as they want. Doesn't mean they might still need to live home with mom and dad and stuff like that, but doesn't mean they can't be functioning members of society. Doesn't mean they can't go work and do whatever it is. They can't go have fun. They can't, they can still go to a bar, get a beer. They're old enough. They just want to be treated the same. So that was like everything that we thought of, and showing everybody else that this is it. They're no different. Okay, a little bit of things, but it's the same. Like, I'm balding. There's people with beautiful long hair. It's just certain things are going to be just different, and it's going to work that way.
Because when I went out there with you, I just remember the drive over, I had like this checklist of things like, make sure you don't do this, don't yell at them. You want to be out here, you want to be encouraging. And so I get out there and I see you and you're like, all right, blowing the whistle. All right, everybody over here, hustle up. Oh, this kind of feels like real football. And it was like everybody came to the drills and you explained, and it was like you blew the whistle. All right, everybody go, 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 go. And I'm like, so we can kind of push them a little bit because like we were talking about earlier, there were drills where it was offense and defense. And I'm a defensive guy. So anytime that we're doing these drills, I want to win. I want to compete. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Break down. And the kids, like you said, it took me a minute to take off that fear of, well, these kids are special and you got to treat them with the delicate hands. And after a while, it was like, no, you got to go. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what needs to be done. Now you got to go out here and be successful.
And that's one of the things that I like to show is, a lot of people, they try to like title it or something, and it's like, no, we're all the same. It's just everybody has something a little different. So it is always good to show that capability to everybody, and just like anything else, it's just fun. You're gonna have fun, and I liked how you said, like you said, it opened up your eyes because I push these kids because that's what they see their brothers and sisters do, and I'm not gonna let them sit there and give me excuses. It's the greatest moments that I have memories is we had one kid. He was, got a little bit of a potty mouth, and he kept dropping F-bombs. And I was like, you know what? Go take a lap.
Ooh.
And he's like, what? It's like, go take a lap. You're cussing. You need to be, you're one of the older kids out here. You got to be held accountable. You're a role model. Go. Okay. I've never seen anybody so happy to go run a lap ever in my life. Like I'd be like,
be mad,
you
think I'm dropping
like,
F-bombs before?
Wait, coach, I'm and to see him like just smiling, big old smile. Like the other kids, like I want to go too.
I want to run a lap now.
I kid you not. It's like F-bomb, just go. Just everybody go. Just go. You want to run a lap? Go. Because that was like the greatest moments that I realized like this is something I'm doing, and I really do appreciate. And like you were seeing, like a lot of the drills that we were doing, they're no different.
They're not.
They're no different. Like we were doing box drill, like so where they were running. That was the one you were working on. Yeah. Where one was the running back, one was the offense, and it would be running around. And now they're wearing flags. It's not tackle.
No, it's not tackle. I was getting a little carried away though. I was like, you gotta take away half the field. And
you do.
Like, oh no, you can't hit.
Don't come up. Don't grab the flag. Grab the flags. So they would run around, and then they come out, and you have the defensive guy kind of try to break down, and then go for the flag, and you want to cut them off, set up the pie, and seeing these kids, like you tell them 1, 2, 3. Fourth time, they're breaking it down. They're doing it, and they
picked up on it real quick.
And they're going to be like, holy good,
I can do this. And you see, and one of the great things that I experienced when I was out there was like, once I got comfortable with me and I understood what you were looking for, and like you said, there were parents out there, but they were back, and it's like, okay, so you're okay with me. And I remember when one of the kids broke down, he did what he was told to do, what he was coached to do, pull the flags, and he looked at me and just held it up. And I wanted to run out and scoop him up. Hell yeah, man, that's it right there.
My celebration is Ric Flair. I'm like, woo, woo. It gets the kids all riled up. And then like one thing, so how we structure everything is we do a warm up. Like the kids come out, we circle up. I make sure they all spread out. As soon as they touch that field, you're not walking. The only person that should be walking is the coach.
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody else is. So I get out in the center and I call them all in, and I'm like, if you're walking, you're wrong. and so they all circle up, and we'll do typical warm ups and stuff like that. Once we get everything all loose, and it's so funny as it goes back to my military days. Is I'm like, all right, I'm gonna count all the odds, you count all the evens, but you got to make me motivated.
Yeah.
So I'm like 1, and they'll yell back 2, and I do it in my military. I was like, and so they'll go 1, and they'll yell 2, and if they're not giving it to me, I'm like, come on, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Make me get me hyped.
Make me believe it. Make me believe it.
And so they would start screaming and yelling and getting it going. And it's just incredible to see, like, the parents are seeing this. And then I'm like, all right, you're over here. This is your drill. This is your team. And from then on, it's like, no walking, no nothing. And I mean, I even tell the parents, it's like, your job, because in the community, a lot of the parents, they get nervous because they're afraid their kid's going to act up or something's going to happen and they're going to have something. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Yeah. Don't worry about it. If I need you, I'm going to call you out. Right. Your job is to be a parent.
And just root for your kid.
And root for your kid. You're not supposed to be out here.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you come,
that's a big problem in sports, period. But
well, they do pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too mean.
No, yeah, you are. You're like me when I'm coaching. Like, hey, I got it. I'll call you if I need you.
Because they'll sit there and I'm like, look, I got this. Yeah. Go sit down. And they don't know what to do with themselves. Right. I don't want to be a respite. I don't want them dropping off and taking off. I want them to be there to watch their kids play. And many times I have some parents. I'm like, go sit down. And like I said, like the F-bomb situation, parents are like, oh, I'll talk to him. I was like, no, I took care of him. He ran his lap. He knows. He does again, it's going to be 2 laps. It's going to be 3 laps. I'm going to make sure they understand it's not a right thing to do.
Right.
And that's kind of it. Everything gets boiled down to Mikey's League is not treating them any different. Yeah. Bringing everything we've ever learned through sports, the bonds, the camaraderie, the losses, the wins. It's all about how we do, because this world's not fair.
No.
You know, and can't treat like this world's going to be fair to them. You know,
like everybody's going to cater to you because of your disability.
No.
You got to learn how to work hard, which is amazing, because when you've never like worked with them or grown up with one, you tend to be like, okay, I'll do that for you. I'll take care of that. And I remember my grandmother with my aunt was always just like, she would get on her like, no, you can do that for yourself. Like, you don't need people to do things for you. And I used to be like, wow, you're being so hard on her. But like you said, as they get older, it benefits them because they're used to having to go through things and they're used to having to deal with things on their own. So I just, like I said, I just keep going back to the fact that when I was out there, I was that person the first 10 minutes until I matched your energy and I watched you and how you were like, let's go, get your asses out here. Let's go, move it.
Yeah, like getting, like having all you alumni out there, having Dennis and Travis, you know, come through. Even like they were a little nervous. Like Dennis wasn't nervous. He's been doing it with us for a while. But some of the Cardinal players, you know, they were a little nervous. It's like, dude, nothing to be nervous about. We good. Even the kids, the Basha High School, brought out their whole team, and they were all nervous on like how to do it. Yeah. And then I got them all in there, and one of my favorite drills was with a lot of the Basha like wide receivers. It was the one-on-ones.
Oh, that was on the far.
On the far.
I saw that.
So
I
were
wanted
opposite.
to get down there so bad. It looked so much fun.
Yeah. So their whole thought, you know, they were just nervous, and I was like, hey, if you guys can intercept off of them. Don't let them get these little simple things. And they did. And then the other thing is, you know, if there was a kid, they, you know, intercepted. Okay, I got him last time, but you know what? We're going to let you go out, do a route. And then so they let him through, and then they would celebrate with him. Yeah. Like, get out there. I mean, I saw so many gritties, you know.
Oh, my God. I'm so, And
these kids were all like dancing, all this stuff. And again, I think it took a moment for everybody to realize we're all the same. We're humans, you know. We're not. There's no difference. So.
It's tough though. I remember that too. I remember being because I was on one end, you know, I was on the far end zone and they were on the opposite end zone, and you could hear them down there and all the cheering, and you look like, man, that looks really fun down there. And the kids were having such a great time. And then I remember a couple parents where I was talking to them, and one lady was saying that her son participated in unified sports at Chandler. And I'm like, Chandler. And she goes, where'd you go? Hamilton? I was like, yeah, my kid. So it was that, like you said, it was just trash talking each other. And he was in a wheelchair. And I was just like, dude, you go to Chandler. And he was like, I go to Chandler.
His name is, I want to say Anthony. I think because his parents saw what we were doing, and he's in that process of getting out. So out of the Chandler, so out of the school system, and it's like, what is out there? And that's where we come in.
Okay. So even after they graduate high school, like there's no age limit to this?
Man, I've had 50-year-olds out there playing with us. And, you know, I take them that time to like, okay, hey, you tired? Go sit down. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you killing yourself, but let's sit down. So our age limit right now that we're finding is our bread and butter. We started off with Mikey's League, was the little kids.
Okay.
And it
like
just
elementary school age?
Yeah, like we were doing from like 8 to 13.
Okay, yeah.
And we started off because it was originally just me and Scott. And we realized, you know, it's good and all that stuff. Then COVID hit. And everything started going south, but we had some older kids that were participating too, because at the time we're like, anybody can do it, just come out.
Okay.
And COVID hit. Little kids, you know, want to protect them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yeah.
But near the end of it, parents were reaching out to us.
Really?
They're like, hey, are you guys doing anything? Like, I was like, well, we're doing virtual. Like, I did workouts and stuff like that.
You did virtual workouts?
Virtual workouts. Man, I mailed these kids basketballs so they could practice dribbling. Like, we would get on Zoom, practice dribbling. We did, like, anything that we could keep us alive. Because, luckily, me and Scott, we're a small organization. We're blessed by a lot of volunteers. That's, like, our biggest thing is if we need money, we need volunteers. And sometimes we need more volunteers than we need money. But these kids, like, we started off coming out of COVID, we were doing a workout, and they were like, well, no one's doing anything. And, you know, my son, he's really hit a big depression. Like,
not being able to go out.
Yeah, like, we had several moms calling us, like, my son wants to kill himself. Or my daughter, and it's like, whoa, like, I remember me and the kid's so happy. He's like, yeah. It's like, there's no interactions, no school stuff, nothing. He's just stuck with us, you know, as parents, and he doesn't want to be around us. And so we started talking to us like, well, how can we make basketball COVID friendly? You know, like, how can we make it to that point? So everybody had to get their shots to participate. Right. Everybody wore a mask. Well, how we did it is we were lucky enough to find a school that had 8 courts.
Oh, wow.
So it was outside, but it was a big court.
Yeah.
Had 8 courts, and so what we did is a group of 3 team. So it was 3 kids on one team, 3 kids on the other team, and then we would go caddy corner, 6 kids there, caddy corner, 6 kids there, caddy corner, 6. So we would do the drills, and it'd be one coach for each court.
Yeah,
and so the coach was that. So we tried to minimize as much contact as possible. But we started doing it, and these kids were like picking it up. Like, parents were like, dude, this is amazing. This is awesome. It's like, we've had a couple, and what was crazy, we did have 2 or 3 kids that got COVID, and the parents were like, oh no, they got COVID. So they were like, you're out for 2 weeks. Don't worry about it. You know, we had one group got it. So we went and said, hey, you guys might, it's like, if you want, go get tested, or, you know, just stay out for 2 weeks.
Right.
And everybody was like, yeah, no problem. Totally understood. So it was one of those things that was so cool to be a part of and doing.
Yeah.
And the kids played against each other, and then we would rotate. So the next week it would be another group. Yeah, so they would constantly have their own different teams. They make up their own team names, and it's just, you come up with some crazy ones. Like, someone was a ponies, was like, I want to be at a ponies. I was like, all right.
Ponies it is.
We got glaciers. I was like,
that's better than the ponies.
They were killing it, though. Ponies were killing it. Nothing worse than getting beat by a team.
A team with the name of ponies, My Little Ponies.
But so, like, everything that we've done, we started off with football because that was my background. Yeah. I love football. Grew up everything on it. I probably now we got to be like, I don't know, 30, 40 years, you know, same like you, like of
just football,
of experience.
It's what you know. It's what you do. It's just, I love it. Like when I went out there, I just thought it was an amazing idea and it's an amazing concept because I'd never seen that before. You know, like the closest thing I'd ever seen to that was the Special Olympics. And then outside of that was the unified games that my son would talk about. But to actually go out there and see these kids doing these drills and to have kids from Basha out there working in with them, it wasn't any like, well, these kids are different from you, so you have to do, it was everybody together. And it was just like, I would have never thought about that in a million years, because I would have been one of those people who would have been like, oh, you got to make sure you got to treat them like a little egg and it has to be delicate. And so, like I said, when I heard you yelling at them, and I remember this is your fault, I'm gonna blame you for this, because one of the kids that was in my group, he started getting like as red as the jersey. So I'm like, hey man, come on, let's go sit down. So he's sitting down and getting him some water, getting him some Gatorade. And I said, well, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna come back and check on you. So like 10 minutes later, he's over there eating popsicles. Hey, what are you doing? He was like trying to hide it. I said, I thought you were hurt. Come on, man, let's go, hustle up. And I just remember like, oh my God, I was yelling at that kid, getting on him. But that's you. You made me do that, because it was like, don't treat these kids differently.
That's good. Like one thing I stress too is like the kids, like when we come in and they're new to us, is confidence.
Yeah.
One thing I do is like every kid that was out there that's been with us for a while and came through, and some of the new kids, like I sit there, it's like, I yell. I'm a big guy. I have a deep voice. Yeah. And I let them know, hey, I'm not yelling at you. Yeah, you're not in trouble. This is me naturally, I said. And a lot of the kids would put their head down. I was like, why are you putting your head down? Because you're mad. I say, I don't care who in this world talks to you, and if they're telling you, never put your head down. Yeah. You always look at them in the eye, because that's how I was trained. Like, hey, you can yell. I'm going to make that eye contact, because you know what's more uncomfortable? Someone making eye contact as you're yelling at them.
Yeah. They're like, oh, well, this guy's staring at my face.
Stop it.
Stop looking at me.
But that was like the whole thing was like, I strive that to every one of these kids, because they would like make a mistake. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they come down and it's like, you didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. Keep your head up. We make mistakes. What is practice for? Practice is where you make all the mistakes. Guess what game time is? That's for perfection. Yeah. And these kids would be, so hard on themselves, more than I would ever. Yeah. So like, that was like, I made a rule. I don't care who. I don't care if your dad's yelling at you. Yeah. You make contact. Yeah. And like these kids now, it's like the confidence that they have, everything. Like when I'm all over with my stories, but
no.
Like when we first started, we started off at Lifetime Gym. Yeah. We did a little football thing in there. It was like a one-off kind of thing. It was cool. We realized there was need, so we did other footballs off and paired up in Mesa. Had probably 10 kids at that time.
Okay.
I think now we're sitting at over 500.
Really? Yeah, I was a lot of kids out there that
I was 160 or something that we had. Like, that was supposed to be 150, but it was like,
that's all right. Come on, and
that's
everybody's not even welcome.
Yeah, that's not even counting the Basha kids. Where I think there was 90 something there. So
nice.
It was a good group. Yeah. But we started off that way, and what was great is we started connecting with everybody. Like we went to ASU and we talked to them, and we saw, hey, you guys have a unified college flag football team. Is like, we'd love to be a part of that. So we got with the Devils Adapt. And this was all before COVID. And they loved what we were doing. They're like, let's get you guys out there. Like they helped split the cost. We got to go on ASU, play on ASU. Got to play, they got to wear ASU logo stuff and everything. I mean, we bought shirts for all the time, different kind of shirts for each team. And we played, and there's this one kid. Well, I say kid. They're not kids. This group, one adult. He was amazing. He put Larry Fitzgerald like to shame. It was a big game. He caught 7 out of 10 passes that was set to him. And I mean, these are long ball, and he would run. He was a phenom on it. Quincy was his name. And I remember at the end, they didn't win, but he came up crying. I'm like, man, what are you crying for? He's like, I'm sorry, coach. I'm sorry. I dropped the ball 3 times out of 10 times it was thrown to me. And I'm like, bro, do you know how many NFL players just wish to have that? Yeah. I said, you did great. Yeah. We're not going to catch everything that comes to us. I said, but you did great. And he's like, I did great. I was like, you did amazing, bro.
That's good.
And I was like, you don't understand. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
He, competitor, though. He just wanted to win. And it was like, I don't care about the 7 balls that I caught. I feel like had I caught these 3, that would have put us in a better place. And that's a compliment to you because you instilled that in him, like that work hard, that ethics. And to now be like, oh, coach, I let you down. It's like, no, you didn't let me down.
I feel losing is you learn more from losing than you learn from winning.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a God gift like myself or something, and I was, thinking I'm the best thing on thing. I never had to really practice, but then you put people that love the sport and want to practice and want to give that every day and will do it. And then they surpass and, kind of thing. It's like, these are the same kids like that think they want to be the best and stuff. I know it kind of went off the rails, but these athletes are incredible. Like seeing them out there, like you saw, the drills we were doing is no different. Like I talked about, we talked about the box drill. It's Omaha pretty much, it's box drill. We did team bull in the ring, so that was like, there was like 5 kids wearing flags and the other 5 were wearing flags, and then it was like you got to work together as a team to pull, and the last man
I saw
standing.
that was near where I was.
We did obstacle course, and then we did like pictures, so that had the stands and they were holding the ball out with the other kids, the other high school kids. It was down by the drinking or by water.
That one. No, I missed that one.
And then we did the tug of war. And you were on tug of war.
I was the anchor. I wrapped it around me.
Hey, that was a cheating. I was just thinking better. I mean, we're sitting out. Yeah, we and you were sitting back. We had the Anthony kid in the wheelchair, and I'm holding Anthony, and I'm grabbing that thing, and we're just like sitting there, and all the other kids are on the other end.
Yeah.
And Dennis is over there, and all the young Cardinals guys.
The young super
and
young.
all them, and then it's all us older guys and a couple of the kids. And I remember like they beat us the first time, and I was like, no, not this time, bro. You ain't getting it. So I wrapped my arm around that thing, and I'm holding
it around me.
I'm holding Anthony, and then it's like go, and I'm like, and we beat him. I was like, that was the greatest thing. Like people are like, that felt so right. I was like, because you beat us the first time.
Yeah.
But that's again like the stuff we learn from losing and winning, being good sportsmanship. And I think a lot of people forget like how important that is in society, from jobs and stuff like that. I mean, I get people
every day. Yeah.
Well, I get people all the time like say, how are you teaching these kids? Like, how is this a benefit for them? And how is this a life skill? It's like, how is it not?
Yeah, teamwork. You have to get along with people on your job. Like, this is all life skills they're learning out here.
These kids are learning plays.
Yeah.
It's like they're learning diagrams. They're learning wiring. Like, you take a play, all it is follow the line, follow the thing. It's like, what can't they not do? So.
No, but that's great though. Now, just to almost like a fast forward, you came in and you were talking about, and I think it's a big deal. You were talking about possibly taking this overseas. Like, how is that working out?
So we're in the process of talking to another organization. The board is, I believe they're over here on the East Coast, but one of the chair people is in Europe, and they talked about how Europe, they do basketball and soccer.
Yeah.
And they do these big old events, like big old soccer where a lot of the clubs will sponsor these teams and kind of teach the kids and stuff. And basketball, and I'm not a basketball player, but I get the coaches that know how to do it. So we've become pretty good. And then they kind of heard about us, and they were like, hey, how can we work with you? Yeah. And it's like, man, kind of a little busy, but we'll see what we could do. And they have a camp coming up. It's programs is Down syndrome based, like all the athletes are Down syndrome. And we were talking about how we do things, and she's like, that's awesome. And she's like, do you have any kids? I said, we have quite a few that might be things. So we're going to the camp. Nothing's set in stone, but the idea is hopefully we could get it. And then they find out, they pull the kids from all over the nation, come to time, and we can get some little bit of practice time, or we all go over to Italy and we practice together and kind of build it. So then we would have a United States basketball team represented, and maybe a soccer team represented, where we can now, get over there and play in those leagues. And yeah, that was I mean, fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you told me about that, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, you get to go overseas and you get to play sports. So it's similar to the Olympics. Like, you're competing against these kids from around the world, and everybody's coming there. And to me, it just kind of goes back to what we were talking about, how sports just really prepares you for life. It's just like, I've had these conversations with people, and it's like, what are you looking for from sports? What is it that what are you putting in, and what are you looking to get out of it? Some people is just like, I want my kid to be out there just moving, grooving, learning how to interact with people. Some people want their kids to go to the NFL. So it just depends on what you're looking for. But with these kids, it just seems to me, you get these parents who are like, I want my kid to do something. I don't know what my kid is capable of, but this gives them an opportunity to go out here and say, you know what? I tried it, and that was fun, and I enjoyed it. So you're always getting something out of sports. There's never a time where you're just out there like, I don't know, I didn't do anything today.
Yeah. Like, we start off, so our whole thing was a football. That was our first sport.
Absolutely.
And then, football.
Go football.
So flag football was our first sport. And then we were like, why not basketball? So we got into basketball. I mean, I'm not bad. It took me a little bit. I mean, I was watching hours and hours of videos. I was out there doing like 2,000 shots at the board, like, because I'm horrible, but I was like, you know what? I got to do this. So how can I teach if I can't, I always joke with the kids. It's like, I'm the coach because I can't do it.
Yeah. I coach because I can't do it. You do as I say, not as I do.
So we started off with basketball. Then from basketball, we tried our hand in soccer. It didn't really work out for us at that time for soccer. Then we were working with one of the Coyotes youth program and another organization that kind of monitors a lot of the youth in hockey throughout the nation. And they were like, one of the reps for the Coyotes at the time, he had cancer. Matt shot, and he ended up, passing away from it. And one of the things that they got asked was like, would you guys be interested in doing something? And I mean, we didn't know him, but the way he lived his life with hockey is the way I lived my life through football.
Yeah.
And he was big on the whole youth. He has kids that are now in the NHL that he's taught and been a part of. And so one of his biggest things was helping out the community. And so with that, with his passing, they asked if we'd be interested in doing something. So we did a ice hockey team. Wow. And we were like, well, is there anybody else that has ever done an ice hockey team?
Like, ice hockey's pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, like, Scott, he was a big ice. He played ice hockey. So it was like, hey, this is your baby. You run with it. And we kind of started reaching out and finding like people in the woodwork, like another good friend, Jared. He's with One Step, and he does One Step Coyotes, One Step San Jose Sharks and stuff. So he kind of saw what we were doing, but for us, we were like, we want to bring it to another level.
Yeah.
So he jumped on. We all got this going. Designed these awesome jerseys and kind of went in. Yeah. And I mean, that's another thing that we do, but we got the kids on the ice. We started teaching them. I was like, hey, you want to learn? You got to get on. Can you skate? No. Okay, you got to start skating. Yeah, so start coming in here. First, but a little bit fast forward, we ended up picking a group of kids, and we had a couple of adults, and they were all older. I keep saying kids, but they're not. They're athletes, grown people. So they jumped in, and we're like, well, why don't we play in a beard league? And they're like, what? Like, I mean, you got different stages of beard league, like you got your top guys, and then you got the guys that are, they're older, and they're just there to get a workout and have a couple beers. And so we started off in that, and let me tell you, it was like the Bad News Bears, man. Bad News Bears. They couldn't, when we first started, they couldn't get over the boards. They didn't understand swapping out, changing out, all this stuff. And by near the end of the season, we were in the championship. Yeah. And I'm like, we're in the championship. And the only reason we lost the championship is this other team somehow had some ringers.
Okay.
They had some NAU hockey goalie, and
okay, yeah.
yeah, I was like,
they were cheating.
They were
just call it what it was.
I'm just saying it right now. But no, but they came out and they played and they beat us, but the kids were like, I was like, nowhere else. Where did this ever happen before?
Yeah, nowhere else.
Nowhere else.
First for this.
Got pretty popular. We started making the rounds, and people started we got in coaches out in Canada reaching out to us, like saying, "Hey, how did you do this? How did you do that? How did you what were the things?" And it's like, man, I don't know. We let the kids do it. We tried to teach as much of the fundamentals as possible.
Yeah.
And going in, and then from there we just rocked out.
Okay.
So that's our ice hockey, and then we did the ice hockey, and we realized there's a passion. I played it when I was younger. So younger, I was a little poor, so I didn't get all the cool because hockey's expensive.
Right there with you.
So I was like, I'm left-handed, but they gave me all the right-handed sticks.
You just had to learn how to do it.
So I learned. I learned, and so we now do floorball, which is really popular in Europe.
Yeah.
And you're running around. You have a goalies. It's on a smaller rink, but you have these specialized sticks and a wiffle ball. And we were like, well, let's do it. Let's do floorball. Let's get this going, because some sports, some stuff out there, sports is really dumbed down, and it's like, if we're not giving anybody a challenge, how can we
just pacify?
How can we make them grow?
Yeah.
So we did ball hockey, and with that, it was like onward. So now we're doing football, basketball, hockey, floorball. We just started baseball this year. We did golf too. Like that's just one of the things that we it's like, let's see how many things we can get into and do and rock out. And then, like I said, that's our biggest thing, and our biggest belief is, there's a lot of great intentions out there, but we want the coaches, 15 years, 20 years playing the sport that can do it and know it, not someone that's like saying, hey, I want to get my kid into this, I'm going to take over. And there's nothing. I tip my hat to those people, but like I said, if I can find someone that's done basketball, we get them. We're working with a semi-pro team, and a lot of the pro teams, Cardinals, Suns, and everything. Love what we do. Come be a part of it, and in some way, some form, we're working with them. So
that's great.
It's super awesome. So if you're ever interested in learning more about Mikey's League, feel free to go to mikeysleague.org, and it's MIKEYS, right, league.org. You can learn all about what we're doing in sports. Again, if you're interested in volunteering, you can go there, volunteer. If you want to donate and help these kids, definitely come be a part of. It's just one of the best things in the world. I mean, we do anything, and anybody that's interested in trying. Yeah. One thing that we do have to charge, because we got to pay for fields and everything. Bills, So we charge $150. But if the family and the player is not happy at 2 weeks, it's like, here, refund it. Here you go. I mean. So it's just a lot of that, and then along with our athletes, we give back. Yeah. Cardinals will give us tons of tickets. Suns will give us tickets. So we give that back to those kids that are part of us. So it's not just one thing. We give them activities to do.
Bunch of stuff to do. Okay, cool. Thanks for tuning in to The Route. Don't forget to subscribe and connect with us on socials for exclusive updates. We'll see you next week.